Today is April 15th, 2015, and we are gathered at the National Guard Armory in Augusta, Georgia as part of the Veterans History Project. Today, in conjunction with the United States Library of Congress and the Augusta-Richmond County Historical Society, we will hear the story of Howard Gooden, a veteran of the United States Army who served during the Korean War. I am Bill Tilt, and I will conduct the interview. First of all, Mr. Gooden, we want to thank you for participating in our program, and why don't you start with telling us a little bit about when and where you were born and what you were doing prior to getting involved in the service.
Well, I was born in Terrell County.
Georgia?
Terrell County, yes, Georgia.
Where is that?
That's down between Albany and Dawson.
Ah, gotcha, okay. And when were you born?
May the 30th, 1930.
Well, tell me a little bit about growing up in Terrell County.
I grew up in southwest Georgia.
Uh-huh.
And I grew up on the farm.
What kind of farm did you have?
Well, my daddy planted peanuts, cotton, corn.
So you were working at an early age, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I started working when I was no later than 12 years old.
Yeah. How about your family?
Well, my mama, she died a year and a half after I was born as a childbirth.
Uh-huh.
So
did you have any brothers and sisters? Or?
That was a brother.
Yeah, okay.
But died along with her.
Oh boy, that's a shame.
And my daddy, he passed away when I was at the age of 12. He died with cancer on his liver.
Oh boy. So what did you do as a 12-year-old young boy?
Well, I went and lived with one of his older sisters, and I stayed there until I got old enough to register for the military.
So that was in the same general area, though?
Right, same.
And so you lived with them, you go to school?
Yeah, I went to school, I completed the 9th grade.
Uh-huh. Continued to work on the farms, I guess?
Oh yeah,
until
I was drafted.
So you were drafted then, huh? When were you drafted? Do you remember that?
In 1951, we went up to be examined, and I believe it was March the 13th.
Okay.
And back then, you passed and everything, but you're not going nowhere until the end of the year.
So they brought you in and made sure you were ready to go when they needed you, but they didn't need you right then, huh?
Right.
Ah, okay.
The way it was set up back in, if I'd had a brother, I would have to go on then. But since I didn't have no brother, I had to stay there until December.
So you got kind of a deferment to work on the farm, huh?
Right.
Ah, I see.
Right.
Okay. So they called you back in November, I guess, in 51, and then you went on active duty in December?
Right. I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Never took no more physical or nothing. It's funny.
Yeah.
And picked up my clothes at Fort Jackson and went on to Fort Knox and started my basic training. And I was lucky. I was home for Christmas, but I had to be back at New Year's.
So when you got drafted, you went up to Fort Jackson, South Carolina?
No, I went to Columbus, Georgia. We still in recruiting station there. They didn't
even put you on post. They just sent you right on to Knox then, huh?
Right.
Had you ever been traveling much as a kid, or is that the farthest you've ever been away from home?
That's the farthest.
How did they get you up to the bus to Columbia and then train?
Well, I left Fort Jackson on a troop train.
First train ride?
No, second train.
Second train ride, huh? So I imagine you were a little apprehensive at this stage of the game, weren't you?
Yes. I never been on like Pullman and makeup. I never seen that before until I was drafted. And I don't know how they took it around, but I know next couple of days we was backing into Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Fort Knox, Kentucky.
And they took us off there and started with our basic training. And I took 4 months of basic training. I didn't have to go to AIT because I took 16 weeks of basic training.
So AIT is Advanced Individual Training.
Right.
But your basic training included everything then.
Right. We stayed there
And you were 16 weeks, you say?
16 weeks.
Tell me a little bit about what kind of training you had.
I took his basic training was mixed with armor and infantry.
Well, did you have to fire?
I fired all the weapons. I trained on M24 light tanks.
Huh.
I enjoyed them tanks,
Me too.
especially when we had to clean them in the afternoon.
Oh. Well, let's get back. When you first get to Fort Knox, they put you in a basic training company.
Right.
And do you remember what that company was called? Or?
I believe B-65.
Okay. And 65 represented what? What was that? A regiment?
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, B Company, 65th Regiment, and that was a unit that was stationed at Knox, and they were cycling people in for basic training.
Go over and over, over and over.
So you started out with the regular, just infantryman type training with a M1 rifle.
Oh yeah, M1. You had to sleep with it.
Yeah. Take it apart in the dark.
Right. Yeah, I could feel scripted. I didn't need no light.
How about physical training? You were a farm boy. You should have been in pretty good shape.
Oh, well, it didn't worry me. The only thing that worried me was Misery Hill. If anybody ever been to Fort Knox, I know they've been down Misery Hill or up Misery Hill. That's the only thing that worried me. The training, I liked the training. I liked to train.
As an old Fort Knox graduate, the main post was kind of on a plateau, and if you had to go out to any of the ranges, you went down Misery Hill,
right.
Which was real fun. But coming home, you had to go up Misery Hill.
That's right. That's right.
And you walked to and from the ranges most of the time. I imagine.
Yeah. On the time we got a chance to, very few times. Because our field force, he always said, he complained he couldn't get enough truck to move us. So.
Yeah. How about barracks? What kind of barracks did you live?
Wooden barracks.
2-story?
2-story, yeah.
Rifle rack in the middle of the bunks?
Right. You slept, that rifle was right in between
Yeah.
your hallway and your bed was here, your rifle's here.
Double-decker bunks?
Yeah. Double-decker bunk.
Yeah.
The latrine was on the end, you come in the front of the barracks.
Yeah.
And
Now this was just at the beginning of the Army's integration process. Was that an all black unit or a mixed unit or all white unit?
when I went in, we was integrated.
Yeah.
We was integrated.
So they had successfully got over that hurdle anyway.
Right.
Now you say then when you got done, did you do the crawling under the barbed wire?
Oh yeah.
Machine gun firing over you, and obstacle courses and all that?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
They give you a dry run that afternoon, and when it's getting dark, they would go for the real stuff.
Tell me about that a little bit.
They would find 27 inches over your head. You had to keep down. You had bombs in the middle. They would study going off to try to get you upset, but I didn't get upset.
And they were trying to give you a little bit of a feel of what it was like under fire. And they fired live machine guns over the head.
Yeah, they were.
And you had to crawl underneath the barbed wire.
Yeah.
Nobody tried to stand up and run.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't have no accident.
Yeah.
But our field force, he had them really school us.
Good.
What not to do and what to do,
Now you say when you did part of this training process that when you got through with the infantry training in the first part of it, you went into actual tanks, huh?
Right.
And the M24 was a light tank.
Right.
What did you do with the tanks? Did you learn to drive them?
I learned to drive, learned to shoot them, and
Yeah.
you had to follow through when you load that tank.
So you had a big round you had to put in the main gun.
Right.
And then get out of the way because when it fired, it recoiled. And there wasn't much room inside that turret, was there?
You had to take care of that arm.
Yeah.
When you were putting it in, to keep that arm, keep it down. So when it recoiled, it would have cut it off.
Yeah. So you learned to load the gun, fire the gun, drive the tank. How about machine guns? Did you?
Oh, we had a machine gun.
Yeah. They had a.
We had to what those
A Colex, yeah.
The light machine gun. We had them big 50 caliber machine guns.
Yeah.
Them 50 caliber machine guns, I think they could cut down a tree if you could hold it.
Yeah. Well, the machine gun, the light machine gun, was a 30 caliber, and that was parallel to the main gun.
Right, right.
And then the 50 caliber you had on top of the turret, which was mainly an air defense thing, but everybody used it for ground fire too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
And
you got to do all those, but you had to load all that ammo though too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And that was toting it up and throwing it up on the heavy stuff.
Yeah, the ammunition is heavy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so you learned how to do all that, and what of those jobs did you like best? The gunner or the driver or the loader? Or?
I like to drive that tank. I like the feel of it. You know, when you go up there and you want to spin around. I like the feel of that. So that was, see, I grew up on the farm. I used to operate tractors. That was a feel coming back. And I reading this reason I catch on so easy, because I was used to heavy using them tractors out on the farm. It didn't worry me, but a lot of those fellas from the city, you could tell they was kind of scared. I said, man,
I was one of those fellows from the city. The first thing I ever had a license to drive was an M48 tank.
What? I got my driver's license, learned how to drive when I was 19.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, you graduated, I guess. You did everything right. Yeah. Lived in the same barracks, though, during this whole time.
Yeah.
And then when you graduated, where did they send you?
Up on the main pole.
Yeah, just across the post. What unit were you in?
B-65.
Okay.
And when I went to transfer Army Field Post Boat number 2, what they did was tested all the ammo stuff, trucks, jeeps, guns, tanks, what the Army would buy. And you would get in that company, it was hard to get out. They would hold you in there.
So this was a unit that tested equipment that was not yet in the Army inventory, but they were testing it and putting it through the paces to make sure it all worked the way it was supposed to, and it was GI proof and stuff like that.
Right. And we had the air where we test out, called it Air 25. Just anybody couldn't go out there. You wore a badge, you had a number. When you go in the motor pool, you couldn't even get in the motor pool without you said, you run out the barracks road and you forgot your number, you wasn't going nowhere. You're going back and get your number.
I guess a bunch of the stuff was still classified, huh?
Oh yeah, it's classified. That's why you couldn't get in there. Anybody couldn't get in there.
Yeah.
Like another soldier come from another unit, he couldn't walk in there.
Well, what kind of equipment did you test?
Jeeps, some more big deuce in the hands, all types of tanks they was putting out at that time. But my little M24, you know, they didn't worry about that.
Yeah, well, that was already in the inventory. That came into the inventory at the end of World War II.
Yeah,
and that was a mainstay in Korea. But that was a good tank. That was only 19 tons too, and it would go fast, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
Now they were starting to bring in some of the heavier tanks.
Heavier tanks, they start getting a few of them in.
Yeah, so that's one of the things you were testing.
Yeah.
Did you have to drive over that equipment? Or?
It all depends. If it was your time to drive, you know.
Now you say you lived on main post, so the barracks were a lot better, right?
We had brick barracks. We were living in one big building. We was on this end. The MP was in between us, and the WAC was on the end of the building. We was all in that one big building. It was divided off up in the attic.
So the MPs were to keep you guys away from the WACs. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know why they set it up like that, but they'd be in between us.
And for those who don't know, the WACs was the Women Army Corps.
Yeah, see, back
you were right down main post. That was pretty good living. You were close to the PX and the movie theater and all that kind of stuff.
PX right across the street.
Yeah.
Main theater was on our right.
Yeah.
Number 1 theater. Well, they had a lot of theaters on post, but that was number 1.
Yeah.
It was a nice theater.
Well, that must have been pretty good duty.
Oh, that was good duty.
Did you have to pull guard duty and KP and any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, oh yeah. And
Still had to do that, huh?
oh yeah, guard duty.
Yeah.
Now guard duty, I got away from that M1 rifle. Pulled guard duty with a 45 pistol. That's what that was.
Did you have to qualify with the pistol, or?
Oh, not
Just
that.
familiarization,
I qualified on basic training.
Yeah,
They took all that in.
Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes you have to be on to go in the motor pool. They had two guards, one watching them coming in, one going out. Sometimes you have to pull that guard duty, but it's just easy. You sit behind a glass window.
And how far away was this area that you worked in from your barracks? Did you have how did you get back and forth? Did you march back and forth? Or?
Oh no, you go there and pick up your vehicle and go into the area out
Where
of the
the
motor
testing
pool.
area was, okay.
Mhm.
So you went to the motor pool and picked whatever you were going to do.
Whatever
Okay.
you was on that day.
Sure,
Say you
okay.
was on the trucks today, they take all the fellas going on the trucks. You get your truck and you go on out to the area. Out there where we test them, it was the tanks had done messed up the ground. Those trucks really went through a bead.
A lot of mud they had to drive through, the driving courses.
You know it was muddy out there. So, and you had to bring that vehicle back. They had plenty of wash racks. It had to be clean before it could go back up on the line for the next morning.
And they had great big hoses, like fire hoses almost.
They had a lot of power.
and try to get the mud off that vehicle.
You had to clean it before you put it back.
Sure. It's just like the old horse cavalry. You had to take care of your horse before you took care of you.
Right.
Well, that's good.
And in the barracks, it was nice flows. They clean them by buffing them.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you get barracks duty,
How about double bunk still, or did you have a wall locker and foot locker?
Oh, we had wall locker, foot locker, double bunks right on.
How about civilian clothes? Were you allowed to have civilian clothes?
You had civilian clothes.
Not in basic training, though.
No.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, once we got our basic training, you could bring your civilian clothes back.
Yeah.
But I liked those wall lockers.
Yeah.
Our wall locker was something like you was going to office training school.
Uh-huh.
All the hangers one way, all the shirts one way, all the pants are one way.
So you're still subject to inspection, even though you're...
Oh, they put inspection in town they want.
Yeah.
Late at night. That's why you keep the door locker in shape all the time. And you know done well that foot locker gonna be in good shape. And we had to roll your socks. You had to put your last four numbers on that. And sometimes you'd have to roll them while that number would. The inspecting officer could see it as he glanced in your foot locker.
Yeah. Well, I guess being down at main post, there was all kinds of big brass running around there. You guys had to look sharp too, didn't you?
We had a big building, wasn't nothing in there but cones.
Yeah.
And this cone was over that, and sometimes you would have to come in touch with him. But one thing, they was nice. They knew how to talk to you.
Yeah. A little bit different treatment than the basic training. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Put you through your paces, and once you passed basic training, then you were a soldier.
And one thing, when I was going through basic training, if you see the general's car pass,
Everybody stopped.
you salute his stars.
Sure.
Whatever, he was a two-star general that had that on his tag, the front and the back.
Yeah, there was a little red plaque down by the bumper. Yeah.
They had his rank on his car.
They had a two-star general who was the post commander.
Right, two-star general.
And they had a couple one-stars probably, different places. The armor school had a one-star general.
Oh, yeah, over to that bowl ground too, where all them generals, colonels were.
Yeah.
They most were full colonels. Yeah. They had 1-2 generals in that building too.
Well, you went in January of...
That's when I re-enlisted.
Okay. Tell me about... You were assigned to this Army Field Force Board 2.
Yeah, that's when I come out of basic training, my first 2 years.
And that eventually morphed into a unit called the Armor Testing Board, Armor Test Board.
Yeah, that's what they call it now.
Yeah. And that must have been kind of interesting seeing all the new stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, well tell me, you said you re-enlisted. Tell me that story.
When I re-enlisted, I went to overseas.
Okay, and when was this, and why did you decide to re-enlist? And
I wanted to go overseas, and they wouldn't send me on my question. I told you I got stuck in that testing outfit. I don't care how good you were.
That was a priority assignment, and they only put the good people in that, I'm sure.
I guess they went through your file, and you know how to and pick out who they wanted, put on certain jobs, and once you got stuck.
So even though the Korean War was going on, you stayed at Fort Knox.
I stayed there at Fort Knox in that outfit.
Well, tell me about when did you re-enlist?
Well, when it was 50, 51, 50. I re-enlisted last of 53.
Yeah, November 53.
I re-enlisted, and I went to Fort Jackson.
Well, did you ask to go to overseas?
Oh yeah, when I re-enlisted, I told them I'm re-enlisted for overseas now.
Okay.
No more states.
Okay. Well, you re-enlisted in November of 53, and the armistice was signed in Korea in July of 53, but there were still shots being fired back and forth every now and then.
Oh yeah.
So you asked to go to Korea.
Yeah.
How did you get to Korea?
Well, I left my home and went to Atlanta, Georgia, caught the plane in Atlanta. And I was going to fly to Seattle, Washington. I left Atlanta, Georgia. We landed in Chicago. They put us all on back then we had them both big motor prop planes. They put us on that, 15 minutes in the air, that plane caught fire. He switched on, it was at night. He switched on his lights, and he kept going. He said, well, we got to go back. And we landed way out there in Chicago. And they come out there and picked us up on buses and took us back.
And so they kept the plane that had the problem with the engine away from the terminals.
Oh yeah, that's why they land out there in the field.
I see.
Just in case it would explode, it wouldn't hurt nobody, but the people was around it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they got us out there as quick as they could, in buses. And they put us on a four-motor airplane then, same type, but it had 4 engines.
Was this an Air Force plane or was this a civilian plane?
It was a civilian plane.
I see.
And they flew us on to, we was in Seattle, Washington that Monday morning on time. And they met us and took us on to our barracks.
Where were your barracks? Did you go to Fort Lewis?
Yeah, Fort Lewis, where they started processing. And they got us all, most of us shots.
Yeah. Anytime you go overseas, you got a whole bunch of shots.
Oh yeah.
How did they give you the shots? Did everybody have a different needle, or did they have?
Said I went through a line where there was 5 people on each side. Each one of them was getting an arm.
So you went in between 2 guys and they shot you in the arm, and then you stepped forward and 2 more guys shot you.
Move on to the next 2 guys. Move on to the next 2 guys.
That's it. Most of you guys can appreciate that story. They think we've all been through that. Okay, but you didn't stay at Fort Lewis very long, did you?
No. I think we got in there that Monday morning before day. We probably was out of there no later than Thursday.
Yeah.
Marine Lynx.
So that was a ship?
Yeah, we were getting on the Marine Lynx. It took us on to Sasebo, Japan. And we got off there and brought all our field equipment, including your M1 rifle. You draw that too. And field pants. And whatever your OGs. See them fatigues, they throw them away. Once you didn't need them when you got to Korea. Fatigue.
Yeah.
They give them to the fellas going back.
And obviously no civilian clothes.
No.
Yeah.
And they took us, that same ship, I think we must come in about that Friday evening. It took us, we had to do a little more process, drawing our clothes.
Yeah, but when you went out of Seattle, you were on this ship and you went all the way across the Pacific on that. What kind of quarters did you have on that ship? You didn't have your own stateroom, did you?
No, clamp quarters, clamp quarters.
Everybody
Stacking like cordwood. Like to stack wood, your bunks.
Fold up bunks along the side of the bulkhead. Yeah.
Yeah, and all in the center. But it was a troop and a troop carrier. They can carry.
Yeah.
Say if 4,000, if you got 4,000, they got 4,000. They can put 4,000 on that ship.
Yeah. How about food? Was the food any good? Or?
Oh, it had good food, but you couldn't eat it because 3 days out you seasick. And they stressed, and I found out it was true. When you get seasick, the only thing can do you some good is eat fruit. Apples, onions, bananas. They would start passing that out. That's the only thing would mostly stay down once you were seasick.
Yeah.
They give you some little pills, but you might be.
Did you run into any storms?
Oh, Lord. It stormed all the way over there.
Yeah.
I remember 24 hours, we traveled 54 miles within 24 hours.
Wow.
We was in storm, it was just raising up, dropping down, raising up, dropping down. That
Yeah,
ship, you know, it leave it in there and you hear that steel pop. And some of them jokers was real, they would cuss.
It sounds like the ship's coming apart, doesn't it?
Yeah. And they tell the brake calf in two. They was having fun, but I wasn't having no fun. It's thundering and lightning out there.
Yeah.
It wasn't no fun to me. I was trying to hide somewhere where I could see that lightning.
Me too. So you went into Sasebo, which is an old Japanese Navy base during World War II.
Yeah.
And you say that's where they issued you all your combat gear, essentially.
Yeah. Combat boots.
You didn't have a chance to fire your weapon before you went, did you?
No. They was in a hurry. I think our group, they wanted us over there in so many hours. Some of them do get a chance to go out and
familiarize,
fire again, but we didn't get a chance.
Okay, they load you on another ship then.
That Marine Lynx was sitting there waiting on us.
Same ship took you over?
Same ship. Took us to Incheon, Japan.
Incheon, Korea.
Incheon, Korea.
Well, that ship was too big to land at the dock. How did you get in?
They don't never go in. They land out there and take you in on little barges. They put 200 men on the barge. They stack you in there like you're stacking wood. 250 men on their little job.
With your duffel bag.
Oh, yeah.
And your rifle.
Oh, yeah, you're going to drive on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, you strap it. It'd be hanging down.
Yeah.
And you had to handle your duffel bag. You know, you didn't need too many clothes.
Yeah.
It wasn't that many clothes. And they took us into Incheon. 200 going in, 200 coming out. We go in on this side, the mother was coming out. And they was going back getting on that same ship we was getting off of. And once they got us in, they took us put us on a train, troop train. And you know, all those trains, the little seats was halfway our back.
Well, they're Korean, I guess. Korean train.
Yeah.
Short seats and small width and everything else. Not made for the GI, was it?
Right. And we had to pull guard every time that train stopped. They had some guards out there. We'd get out there and walk guard, make sure nobody couldn't get on or off.
Yeah. Well, they also were trying to make sure no saboteurs got close to you guys.
Right. And they took us into, what's that little place? Oh, I can't think of the little.
Well, that's all right.
I think it was a little town, and that's why the trucks met us.
Okay.
And took us on up the 38 parallel. You just start riding when you get to the 38 parallel. We was 30 miles or 50 miles on the other side of the 38 parallel.
Yeah.
To Chuncheon. That train took us into Chuncheon. That's where the trucks met us. And took us on up.
Up close to where they.
And then put off, said 7 men's gonna get off here and 7 gonna get off over there. And when they got you broke down, see, they had to cut your orders. And the truck driver, he'd call your name, you get off here. They put me off at 987 Field Artillery.
So you become a field artilleryman.
Right, right.
Had you ever been trained in field artillery?
No.
You was just one of them.
No. The only big artillery field thing I have seen was when I was in this testing outfit.
Yeah. What rank were you at this time?
I was a corporal. I went over as a corporal, but I come back as a sergeant.
Yeah, good. Now, so this 38th parallel, that really the lines were, some of it was above the 38th parallel, depending on where the armistice, where the truce was signed, where the troops were at that point.
I told you, my outfit, we was probably 30 miles on the other side of it.
Yeah.
The 38th parallel.
Yeah.
And then we could look down over North Korea.
What separated, where the lines were now? Was there barbed wire fences along there, or nothing, or just how did you know what side where to be?
Well, I never did really go up to the line. I could see from off a distance. His little fence like.
Yeah, barbed wire fences.
And then if you got caught over too far, you had to keep on going to North Korea. You couldn't come.
Well, the North Koreans tried to infiltrate, long times after.
That's why we would have to have guards out walking that fence.
Yeah.
Because they were treated so bad, I believe, over there. United States treated their fellas real good.
Yeah, a lot of North Koreans tried to defect, didn't they?
Yeah, sure, they defect and come on over and eat good. Eat good. And we had to protect for clothes. They issued what you call Mickey Mouse boots and our parkas.
Yeah, that were thermal insulated boots and winter parkas and cold weather.
We couldn't have made it over there without it.
Yeah.
And
the early days, Marines didn't have that up at Chosun, and
they froze.
They froze. Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, they froze.
Well, you were in the 987th Field Artillery, which is an 8-inch howitzer.
Oh yeah,
right.
They're big guns.
Were they towed or self-propelled?
No, they're self-propelled. They had their own engine.
Okay. And what was your job? What did you wind up doing?
With my rank, they made me supervisor over a gun.
So you were a section chief.
Right.
Okay. And you say you were over one gun. How many guns were in a battery, or how did they organize that?
They had 4 guns in each company.
Okay.
Number 1, number 2, I was in A company.
Okay.
Ava, Bacon, Charlie.
Okay.
So I was in A company. So we was pretty close to the FDC mostly at all times.
And the FDC was a fire direction center.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what kind of a crew did you have on your gun? You were a supervisor.
Well, I had a pretty good crew.
How many people and what were their jobs?
They had been over there before I got there.
So they were trained already. You were a replacement.
Yeah, they knew their job.
Yeah. Well, that helped you as a
right.
unfamiliar artilleryman.
Yeah, they had a corporal. He set all those projos before we were found. That was his job. And we had a man.
And what's a projo?
Those are big.
The projectile.
What we loaded. We had 3 men on the rammer staff.
Okay. So first you loaded the
They put it on a tray. They laid that on a tray, and they put it up there, and the 2 men would lift it up to the gun turret back there, and those men on the rammer staff would ram it home. They had to ram it, I don't know, probably about 30 inches to get it up in the gun.
So there was like a little ramp up that way.
Right.
And they put this big heavy projectile on there and they ran it home.
It was 200 pounds.
Wow. No wonder they had extra people doing that. And then you had to put powder in there too, right?
Yeah, powder, man, that was his job. They was telling him how far they was fine, and he knew how much powder to put on it to send it home.
So this fire direction center would tell you the range you wanted to fire, and that determined how much powder to put behind that projectile.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
We would fire 3 rounds. If we would start firing at you, we would fire 3 rounds. Either way we want, we would make them short, over, and then we would split the difference. You could tell by the reaction that 3rd round, you better be prepared.
Should hit, yeah.
If you would, somebody was firing at you and you know it was artillery, you're pretty sure you'd know it. But you either move to the side, you don't move up, or you don't move back. You move to the side and you got a chance to never being hit. Just keep moving to the side, right or left. But as you move forward, you move backwards, they were gonna get you.
Yeah, the theory was you fired your first shot and somebody was on the ground looking, and they said, okay, I got a target.
Right.
You fired 1 round out there and you tried to be long on that one just so you didn't hit your own guys.
Right.
And then once they saw where that landed, then you tried to bring the next one down underneath it.
Yeah, you cut it half.
Yeah.
Cut half.
And then the next one, you could tell the adjustments, and all those adjustments came from that forward observer looking at where the shells were landing, and they would call it back to the fire direction center, which would tell you the changes to make.
Yeah, and when you finally, I'm pretty sure you were gonna get it pretty close to 3 rounds. He would say, fire, fire, fire. And he said, target, fire. He'd keep you firing. See, you didn't hit him. He wants you to come back.
Yeah, again and again. Huh?
Right.
Fire for effect, yeah.
Until you could knock them all out.
How many rounds could you fire in a minute?
We could fire 2 rounds every 3 minutes.
Uh-huh.
We could get ourselves together. We could put 3 rounds every 1 round every 3 minutes. We could put them in there.
Well, that 8-inch howitzer was a long-range gun, and it was a big, heavy weapon. I mean, there was a lot of explosive on the end of that when it came out.
When it recoiled 72 inches. So if you were standing directly behind, you might get messed up.
That's 6 feet. Holy mackerel.
So you always stand to the side.
All right. Now, where did you guys live? You guys are sitting up there above the 38th parallel. You're ready to support the troops if the North Koreans decide they want to come again.
When we was out firing like that, we would sleep in them little tents.
Pup tents?
Pup tents. But when we go back to our outfit, we had squad tents. 12 men slept into a tent.
So you didn't fire up there on looking across the border. You went to a firing range further south.
Yeah, we move our position and set our. And anytime you come in at night, you got to lay them guns before you could go to bed.
Yeah.
When you go to bed, those guns are set up, but nobody can move in on it.
Well, if something happens in the middle of the night, you can't be fooling around. You got to start pumping lead, don't you?
Right. You ain't got time. They say we got a fire mission. You ain't got time to try to lay no guns.
Yeah.
You just get your crew and get them there.
Well, that's a big gun. It's hard to put those into position. And
that's why you got to lay them when you come in at night. Or anytime you come off another fire mission, if you say we're going to sit up here for so many hours, Chief of Fire Barry, he going to make you lay them guns in on them targets.
Yeah.
Before you start cleaning yourself.
Did you have a kind of a cheat sheet or something that said, well, if I fire at this settings, I'd hit this target, and if I fired at this setting? Yeah, we called them a range card later.
Well, yeah, we had, the way we did it, they could just about, the man sitting on the OP, he could just about tell how far we were away from it.
The observation point is okay, and that's the guy that's physically looking out at the target. Well, you say you lived in squad tents when you're up above the 38th there.
Yeah.
How about mess hall? Did you have hot chow or did you eat sea rations?
Oh, we ate hot chow most of the time.
Yeah, good.
They built some little temporary buildings. And, and a lot of times we'd be out on the range firing. If we had a fire mission, they would, some kind of way in the kitchen, they would bring us hot coffee.
Oh.
That's why I started drinking coffee in Korea. If you didn't drink it around, you'd have froze. I wouldn't drink no coffee before I went over there. But you had to drink it over there.
Yeah. It's the only thing that kept you warm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you drink it with cream and sugar?
Just hot coffee.
That's
Anyway
exactly
you get
right.
it.
Because they'd
Anyway
run
you
out of
get it.
cream or they'd run out of sugar, so you had to learn to drink it black, right?
That's right. You didn't try to put that coffee in and try to keep you warm.
Yeah.
But what really saved us was those Mickey Mouse boots, the pilot caps, we wore OGs, our clothes.
Heavy woolen clothing, yeah.
And that parka that would kept us from freezing.
Yeah, the parka had a waterproof shell you put over it too. And did you have fur around the hood on the parka or not?
No, around the neck.
Yeah.
But that pilot jacket, you could pull it down tight under your chin. And once you tie it, it's not going to blow off.
Yeah.
And that kept your head warm.
Yeah.
And your ears.
Yeah.
You know, they can get so cold till they'll fall off.
Well, you guys were lucky. They were smart enough to get some cold weather gear by this time, yeah.
Yeah, by the time I got over there, they had everything what you needed.
Well, listen, did you ever get any R&R while you were stationed in Korea?
Oh yeah, I got one R&R.
Where'd you go?
To Tokyo, Japan, but I didn't like Tokyo. It was too expensive. I went on to Yokohama. That's where I spent my 7 days. I caught the train.
Was there much damage in Japan? Did you see any World War II damage? Or
No, I
they
didn't.
had rebuilt everything by that time.
Yeah,
right?
they didn't rebuild it.
How about were the Japanese people friendly to you
They
guys?
were real nice too. They were real nice.
No resentment, you noticed?
No.
Yeah.
They were glad to see us coming.
The dollar. Yeah.
And when I went over, our dollar was worth something then.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to think. We were getting something like 900 yen for $1.
Yeah.
Our
The
dollar,
days are gone forever.
our dollar was strong.
Yeah.
Strong.
Would you stay in a hotel? Did they have they have American hotels set up for you guys, or did you just go on the United?
There's a place was in Yokohama where R&R Center. As you leave it, nothing but motels. It was nice.
Yeah. How about back in Korea? Did you ever get up around Panmunjom where
That's where I was stationed.
Okay.
That's where I was stationed. Now
Did you see the buildings and stuff like that? The UN flags and.
Yeah, Panmunjom, where our company we set up, and we could look down. That little where they signed that little peace tree.
Yeah.
That's where.
Oh, that's neat.
11th Field was signed. We were sitting behind the firepower.
So that was your unit, the 11th Field Artillery?
Yeah, this 987, they sent that back to the United States. That was a little battalion came from.
Separate battalion,
Yeah, and they sent us all to the 24th Division, and I wound up the 11th Field Artillery.
So it was basically just a name change, and the unit became part of the division then, right?
Yeah, that 24th Division it was a lot of us. My battalion, we went in Kyoto, Japan. That's where we were set up, Kyoto, Japan. See, each battalion, the LSTs, they'll put a whole battalion on it. All the men and the guns, they put them all on one LST. I don't know how they did it, but they did.
Wow.
That's how they took us to Japan. We had our own it's a little ship, but they call them LSTs.
Well, when did you leave Korea?
Well, I stayed in Japan after I got with 24th Division, we went to Japan and released the 1st Marine Division. They came back to Japan and stayed there for 3 months. Well, they released us, give us a break. And when our time to come move back to Korea, they moved back, and I think they brought them back to the United States, the 1st Marine Division. They were moving out. But we came back and took up their position what they were holding in Korea at that time.
So basically, The
This
premise was that they take a unit and send it back to Japan to either refit, because all those Korean War combat veterans were heading back to the States.
Yeah,
and I had a whole bunch of replacements coming in, so it gave time to train and organize, and then they went back to Korea and they kept swapping them that way.
Yeah, till they swapped it out.
Yeah,
and I stayed over there to ETS. I think when I left Korea, I had 45 days left.
And this had been about September 55?
Yeah, I think I got home. It was sometime in September. I forgot what date it was.
Okay.
See,
how did you get back? Did you take the ship back again?
I came back on the John Manning. It was a Navy ship, two-stacker. It was a big boy. And when we got out in Incheon, we stayed down there at least about a day and a half. The little fish boats wouldn't move out the way of our ship. And the captain of the ship, he said he didn't want any mess. He would retire when he got back to the United States. And he stayed there, and then he kept blowing that old big thing, that old big horn. He blew it about every 10 seconds, trying to make a move. They finally woke up and moved.
That's these little Japanese, Korean fishing.
Little fishing boats, like you see what they pull behind these trucks and cars and little stuff. And I wouldn't have been out there around that big ship. See, we never did go in the channel. We just stayed, it was the channel, but we stayed out there and anchored out there. And they's all out there around us. And we came on to Yokohama and tied up there, and that's when they put on a show. They were sending us back to the United States. I mean, they give us a good send-off.
Yeah.
We stayed there about 12 hours. And then we pulled out and come on to the United States.
Well, good. Where did you land in the United States?
Oh, Seattle, Washington.
You go back to Seattle again, huh?
Yeah.
And then they sent you on home. You got a chance to go home.
I got out to tell you, all officers and first three graders, they processed us on the ship. Only thing they had to do when we got out on land, take a bath and get paid. You got off the ship and they put you on trucks, and it wasn't too far.
They gave you new uniforms too, didn't they?
Oh yeah. When you come in that door there, you start taking off your clothes. And you get up so far, you see the sprinklers where you could shower down. And by the time you got out to the end of that building, you had all your clothes. They give you a towel first. You dry yourself off. Pair of shorts first, t-shirt next. Then you start getting your pants, your shirt, and your shoes.
And that's a Class A uniform.
And I had my Class A by the time I got out. My tie, I think the tie is the last thing you get. You tie your tie and put it on, and you go on out. Folks get paid. They had anywhere you want to travel, train, fly, or buses. They had everything that was coming on Sunday morning. I said we docked about 9 o'clock, and we said no later than 11 o'clock. We was on our way.
Wow.
Wherever you was going.
They were organized, huh?
Yeah.
And you looked all pretty, so you could go home and look and impress all the girls. Huh?
Yeah. And I told you about I come on the train all the way in Chicago, and I took the bus on into Albany from Chicago. And I told you that's why I run into this integration deal. The bus driver, that was his first trip, and they didn't say nothing to him, but I know they was giving him dirty looks. He told me, he said, "Sergeant, you sit right over there on that front seat. I want you to help me get out of Albany here and try to hit the Dawson Highway." And I showed him how to get out. I hadn't forgot that, how to hit the main at Dawson Highway.
Had much changed since you got back to the States, or did you notice a change? Or
no, ain't nothing changed. Just like when I went over there.
Yeah, okay. Well, and then where did you actually retire?
I didn't retire. I got out here. I was stationed at Fort Gordon.
Tell me that. So you went home
And
and
along-
and then went to Fort Gordon,
Yeah.
Georgia.
I moved back with the Fort Gordon.
And,
It was Camp Gordon, there was no Fort Gordon.
okay.
It was Camp Gordon when I got back, 55. And they put me in a long line company. It was a signal. And
So here you were trained as a tanker, fought as an artilleryman, and now you're in a signal company.
right.
Got it.
And I stayed in that signal company. What they do is they build line. I remember when we built a line all around Fort Gordon, all the way around. We started gate 1, went all the way around, and come on back in up at gate 2.
What was that, electric lines or communication lines?
We built a power line.
Power lines, okay.
It was a large company. I think we had some over 600 men. That's like they were sending 250 to Camp Stewart down there. I know we had men to Florida, scattered all over. Whatever they need something done, they would pick up so many men. How we would travel, use our vehicles.
Well, the Army had to do all that stuff in Korea, so they had all these guys coming back that were trained. They put them to work, didn't they?
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
had a job when you got back here now. You had a job.
How long were you in that unit?
I stayed there until they opened up this training. Remember when they opened the training center up at Fort Gordon?
The basic training? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I stayed there, went over and helped open that up. And they put me back on the weapons. On that training those guys on the M1 rifle. And I'm trying to think about that Jim. I helped train him. You know, he got killed. He stayed in there. He went through that basic training out there. And he went on and took officer's candidate. And he got all the way up to 2-star general. He got killed after he retired.
Oh my goodness.
He retired as a 2-star general.
But you taught him how to shoot the rifle.
Oh yeah, he had to go through me.
Yeah, okay.
And I
Did you do okay?
There was so many that went through it. Yeah, he was pretty.
Yeah.
And I had trouble with one guy. You know, I was a senior NCO out there, and we had those pop-up targets. I had 2 men on this side, and I had 2 on this side.
On the firing line.
Right. And we was going through this line. We had those pop-up targets. You got 2 men on your left and 2 on your right. You got to be particular how you wheel around with that M1. Don't let it hurt somebody. You know it hurts, and it'll hurt you bad.
Yeah.
This little guy, I told him, I know he was getting mixed up. And I got to him first. With the other 3 guys, they were staying back like I told them to stay back. And this guy, he's getting trigger happy. I reckon he thought he was in the movie. I said, "You're not in the movie, son. We got live ammo. And you got to act like we got live ammo." I called him in his belt, and I said, "Lock your weapon." He fumbled around with it. I knew it wasn't locked. And I got up. I went walk around in front of him, but I made sure that rifle was kept at high pole. And he kept fumbling around. I said, "Lock the weapon, powerful inspection." I was going to take that weapon and check it, because I know he messed around with it too much. He's a little short guy. I took this hand, I took that weapon, I kept it at high pole at all times, because I knew it was loaded. And them weapons, when they get hot, they might accidentally go off. So I kept him with this arm, and I kept him at high, and I took that rifle at high pole, and I took him to the safety officer up there where he just knew he had them blow my sun helmet on.
Oh.
He knew I was hit, and I thought I was hit too.
So when you were trying to get the weapon fired?
Yeah, boom!
Oh.
And it blew my sun helmet off.
Wow.
See, we all had sun helmets.
Yeah.
So we had to halt that training for that day.
Yeah.
So I was scared.
I imagine.
I done my hand like that, but I wouldn't look at it.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, I looked at it. I was
Get
sweating.
sweat. You're afraid to be blood. That's how they.
But I was showing up.
You can laugh at that now, can't you? It wasn't that funny then.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And it wasn't funny to the people out there on the range with us. They see my son helmet blow off like that. They didn't know that I had been hit.
Yeah. Well, you got discharged then at Camp Gordon, right?
Right.
In November '57.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you were what grade were you when you?
E5.
Sergeant E5.
Yeah.
Okay, and I see you got a National Defense Service Medal and a Korean Service Medal and a UN Service Medal from Korea.
Yeah.
You did well for yourself.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your family life after you got out.
Well, I got married before I got out.
Oh, is that right?
Got married to a young lady from Waynesboro, Georgia. And we was together about 52 years till she passed away.
Wow. Did you know her before you went into service?
No. I met her
Yeah.
while I was stationed here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met her.
How about kids?
We had one miscarriage
Uh,
in 1960. I was out of the Army then. We had done built our home.
what did you do for your civilian career?
Well, I kept messing around. I finally got a pretty good job when I got up at the mill. And see, I was easy to learn. Before I retired from the mill, I was saving $60 a week.
And this is one of the textile mills in
Yeah.
Augusta?
Textile.
Yeah.
John P. King Manufacturing Company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they had a lot of textile mills around this area at one point in time.
Yeah, because they had two
Yeah,
mills.
yeah.
70 mill right next door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Let me take you back a little bit to your combat days. What was your scariest time, or when did you say, "Hey, a guy from South Georgia don't belong here"?
The only scary time, I don't forget what we were moving up or we were moving back. But somebody called those jets. They was our jets, but they didn't know what unit we were. Well, they regular GIs, and they were flying so low they could read the numbers on our weapons.
Oh my goodness!
And nobody didn't turn a fool and start firing. No jets. They brought us all the way back from up north, and that might have been their job to bring us back. But I don't know. But they were flying so close, and you could almost smell those planes.
Yeah.
That's the only time I really got scared.
Well, they were coming down. I guess you still had problems with infiltrators in those days when you were over there, right?
Oh yeah.
Did you have people stealing stuff from you? Did you have problems with that, or did you have much dealings with the Korean people?
Korean people, they didn't never.
They stay away from you, huh?
They didn't never steal from us.
Oh, okay.
They was pretty good on that. Cause back then, if one of the fellows was caught on stealing something, they would put a hurting on him. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
So our unit, I don't know what now. I don't know what. We always had our guards out, just in case. But they never did come in there like at night and try to steal stuff. Mm-mm.
How about USO shows? Did you ever see USO
Oh
shows?
yeah, we had plenty of USO shows. And what this little movie star, Eddie Fisher married the first.
Debbie Reynolds?
Debbie Reynolds. I seen her
Is that right?
in Korea.
Yeah. It's nice to have those guys come over there and see the.
Yeah, I seen old Bob Hope. I seen.
Oh, one of my heroes.
Yeah, he come over there.
Never saw him, but I was always glad he was in country.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, is there anything else you want to get down here? We got a couple minutes and I got a couple pictures we want to include. You got any other stories you want to tell us?
We went up at NG Pass, and it was a little training. They given us a little extra training. We fired them up there once, that NG Pass. That's the highest peak in Korea.
Uh-huh.
How they got our guns up, they took them up there on trucks, on the big low boards. And while we was up, one of the brakes gave out on one of the low boys, and they kept falling back. The brakes giving out. The full truck helped them.
Ah.
And then we got everything
Well,
fixed.
those are heavy first of all, the guns are heavy, and then they put them on a low boy. That's a lot of hill to climb, isn't it?
Yes, good.
Yeah.
That's when we had some drivers.
Yeah.
Everybody said they can drive a truck, cannot drive a truck. When you going up something like that, you got to drive.
Because they no automatic transmissions. Huh?
They didn't have no man. You got to know when to change them gears.
Yeah. Well, listen.